Hello, fifth grade. Let's take a look at subtracting fractions when we have unlike denominators. So I've got a problem here on my whiteboard. 2/3 minus 1/12. They do not have the same denominator here. So before I can subtract, I have to give them common denominators. I can follow the same process that I use to make common denominators for adding fractions as I can for subtracting fractions. We're going to make a new equivalent fraction and then subtract the numerators. So I have a couple of methods that I can use. When I look at my two denominators, 3 and 12, I can think about the multiples of those numbers. Remember, look at a multiplication chart. My multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, and I'm going to stop there because I notice that 3 has a multiple of 12. One of my denominators is already 12, so I'm going to use 12 as my common denominator. That means 1/12 is already in the right form. Take that down just a little bit. Okay, so we just need to change our 2/3. So I want a denominator of 12, and I think 3 times what number gives me 12? 3 times 4 equals 12. So I'm going to multiply the numerator times 4 as well. 2 times 4 is 8. And now I have common denominators, and I can subtract this. So 8 minus 1 equals 7, and my denominator stays 12. My webcam was kind of blocking that. There we go. 7/12 is in its simplest form, so that is my final answer. Let's try another one here. What if we have 13, oops, scoot that down, 13/14 minus 3/7. Okay. As I look at these numbers here, I do not have common denominators yet. I'm going to think about my multiples of 7 and 14, and I remember that 7 times 2 equals 14. So I can use 14 as my new common denominator. So 13/14 is already set with the proper denominator. I just need to change my 3/7 to have a denominator that is 14. So take a moment, pause the video if you need to, think 7 times what number equals 14? You said 2, you are correct. So I'm going to multiply my numerator and denominator by 2 to make an equivalent fraction. Do your multiplying here and figure out what will our equivalent fraction be. If you said 6/14, you are correct. So now I'm ready to subtract. I know my denominator will stay 14. Let me subtract my numerators. 13 minus 6. If you said 7, you are correct. 7/14. 7 and 14, those were our original denominators, and we realized that they were multiples of one another. So I can simplify this fraction. I remember that 7 is half of 14, or I could say 7 is my common factor. Divide my numerator and denominator by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. 7/14 means the same as 1/2. Let's try one last problem together here. Let's look at 3/5 minus 2/6. We again do not have common denominators here. We need to make common denominators before we can subtract. Remember that one strategy you can use if you're kind of stuck and not sure what denominator can I have here, we can multiply our two denominators together. So if I multiply 3 and 5 times 6, 5 times 6, 3 times 6, then I multiply my other fraction times this denominator, 6 times 5, 2 times 5. That is one quick way to make your equivalent fractions. If you're not sure how to write out those multiples, or maybe they're big numbers and you're kind of not sure how to count by those numbers, try multiplying them together. So now I'm going to give you just a moment to make your equivalent fractions here. Feel free to pause the video if you need more time. For our first fraction, 3 times 6 is 18. 5 times 6 is 30. I'm going to subtract my second fraction. Again, pause the video if you're not quite to this point and you need to keep working. Use the video to double check. 2 times 5 is 10. 6 times 5, still 30. So now I've got common denominators. Now I can subtract here. So 18 minus 10. Pause if you need more time, is 8. And my denominator remains 30. My last step is to check, is this answer in simplest form? Well, 8 and 30 are both even, so I know I can at least divide by 2. Anytime both numbers are even, that's at least one step I know I can take. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 30 divided by 2, 15. This can't be simplified any further. They're not both even. They can't both be divided by 3, 4, or 5. So this is our final answer. I hope this helps as you practice adding, subtracting, not adding, subtracting fractions with unlike denominators.